It's your boy AncientAlbatross here again with the Cypher Unlimited crew -1. Unfortunately, no Spigs. He is at work doing Fleet Week. Very busy time of the year for him. But yeah, we have our usual suspects of me and our good buddy here, Alpha Dean, or Dean simply. And just as a quick reminder, if you haven't already, be sure to follow us here on Twitch and subscribe to us over on YouTube. It is a huge help for our channel. And yeah, we really appreciate all the support we've gotten so far and any support we continue to receive. But either way, Dean, what are we doing here tonight?
Man, dude, it's crazy. We got a guest on the show. I mean, it's like a guest. This dude by the name of AncientAlbatross. We're going to talk to him about his latest project, the Cypher hack that he's been talking about. It's going to be so cool. And wait a minute. That's you. Oh, damn. It means I got to talk to you all night, Al. Oh, well. I mean, I hope you're okay with talking to me. It's me and you.
I think we'll get by.
So, without further ado, guys, we're going to get into this. Al has been plugging away for a few weeks now, maybe a little bit longer than that, because he had this illustrious love affair happen with Mork Borg and a few other things, but just kind of inspired him to do something. And, we've been behind the scenes watching it unfold, and it's pretty damn awesome. So I'm pretty excited to talk about it. So, I mean, Al, really, without further ado, let's get into it, and why look at that. My show notes just decided to do what they wanted to do and go right back to the beginning. Hilarious, but I'm good. So what is the premise to this grand yet small project you're endeavoring upon, and what's the title?
So, it is a pretty simple premise, honestly. And I'm honestly still working on the title. I'm deciding to like a middle place between two or three different names, but I think the one I'm leaning most towards is the Entropic Isles, just to play on the word entropy. And yeah, it's it just sounds cool. But either way, the premise is I basically, like you said, I had a love affair with Mork Borg. And that kind of got me thinking on how I could play a Mork Borg-ish or a deadlier OSRE-ish type game within Cypher System. And of course, you guys know I love the world of Gods of the Fall, but we can't really write. I mean, we can, but we can't. It's kind of in that weird gray area of like creating stuff for. But either way, I decided to basically make my own world and tweak Cypher System to fit kind of how Mork Borg plays a bit. And yeah, to that effect, I altered the rules quite a bit. Not quite a bit. There's not really too many rules to Cypher, as you know, but I adjusted them a little bit, made them a little more deadly, easier to make a character. What else did I make easier? Just overall play, I guess. There's less restrictions, if that makes sense.
Okay, that sounds cool. Now, so did you? Another, quick aside, because I don't think I threw it in here, but it would beg to argue or talk about, did you change the types? Are we still using traditional types, or did you make your own types? What happened in that round?
There we go. So, yeah, a lot of stuff changed in that department. There's actually no types as we know them. I changed it and I called them archetypes. That might not be what they're called in the actual final product, whatever. But yeah, essentially, I stripped all that stuff down. So, there's no types like we know them. There's archetypes, and then the character sentence actually has no mechanical thing like it does in normal Cypher System. Like, you get stats from your descriptor, your foci, all that stuff. It's not really a thing within the Entropic Isles. Instead, you get your special stuff from your archetype. That's where you get you kind of start with an ability and a very special ability, which I call an ultimate ability. But yeah, your sentence is now strictly to help you roleplay. And I have it set up that you can roll it randomly, or you could pick your own sentence, but essentially you are a positive descriptor, negative descriptor archetype, who bad habits, and it's all stuff to help you role play, because again, in this post-apocalyptic world, you're bound to pick up a few bad habits, have a negative descriptor makes sense, because it is a pretty desolate world and a lot of people got to do what they got to do to get by, and also develop some weird coping mechanisms.
That's pretty cool. I mean, that it's funny. We were talking on on our in our private room, how many little things you've done with your system that kind of parallel mine. Even like our opening spiel for the storyline, which is really crazy because we never had any conversations. But the fact that you're using entropy, which is a thing that I plan on doing, and the fact that the world ending apocalypse was similar. I just think it's pretty cool how it just shows, first of all, how Cypher will inspire a creative, and then again, what we like to think about, the fact that we're all friends and we don't even talk like that about all of our games or whatever. We just throw something out there and it's synergistic. So I could literally see taking your hack and throwing it as a subset or something, since it's simple. Now, that's the other question. Before I get into that, is this like all about solo play, or will this be able full fleshed out where you can, run it for other people as well?
This is definitely a full fleshed out thing. I am borrowing from Mork Borg, again, heavy inspiration, where I'm including a few tables that'll help facilitate something like solo play, or a GM who's wanting to set up a session on the fly or something. I'm blanking now. Like the adventure generator, like you can start a seed with a table I have. All the character options have tables associated with them, so you can roll a random character pretty easily. I even made an online character generator for this. I think I need to update it though, but yeah, a lot of the stuff is rollable. So to that end, yeah, it's easy for solo play, but it's meant as either or. It's not designed one way or the other. It's just a Cypher System product. But I will say this before we move on, because I realize I completely missed talking about it. The setting, the world itself, right? So this is where we draw from the Gods of the Fall inspiration. And again, it's a world where it's post-apocalyptic and is basically almost identical to Gods of the Fall, where heaven has fallen and it wreaked havoc on the world that it fell. But in my setting, it is the Chaos God specifically who became powerful through some unknown means and toppled heaven and killed all the other gods. And now the Chaos God lives amongst humans, and I haven't really decided how many years ahead like the current story is. It's gonna be many years, like 500 something years. But the premise is again along the lines of Mork Borg, where the Chaos God is drinking in all this chaos he's sown, and after a certain amount of time he'll get strong enough to reshape the world completely in his image, and it'll be something unfathomable to humans. And that I'm leaving vague and up to the GM or storyteller or whatever, but yeah, that's the basic premise of the setting of the world. And along with that, the Chaos God, when he killed the other old gods, he spread their magical essence across the land, and thus giving magical powers to the humans who didn't have them before. And it's random, and that's part of their character creation too, is you get what's called chaos magic, and you get one random ability to start your game or your character. And yeah, that's the basic premise of the lore setting.
And that's, like I said, is just crazy, the parallels, but that's really cool. That being said, I mean, I'm sitting here looking at you smiling and laughing because, typically we hear Al talk about, oh, I don't read, my energy levels are low, I'm da-da-da, you're like always like this low even kill. But this has you energized, man. I mean, like, you seem to be like, over the top with the energy. How have you remained so energized? What's kept you so engaged with this project?
Well, just to go back a tiny little bit to the beginning where you said I've been working on this a couple weeks, maybe a little longer. I've probably been working on this like maybe half a year or longer, because of how my energy levels are. I get the energy to do it, and then then I don't have the energy for a while. With this specifically, in recent months, I think I mentioned it on the Discord server, but I recently quit my job. I don't have a job right now. I'm unemployed. So that has given me a little more energy in that regard, where I'm not stressed, I'm not worried. That place was hella stressful. So not having the stress of worrying about having to go back to that place the next day or whatever has actually been a huge load off. And then on top of that, I know Kedup's not in the channel, or maybe he's listening or something, but he hasn't said hello. But Kedup is actually the one who purchased Affinity for me. Like, he gave me the funds to buy the program to do this. And because of that, that also kind of spurred a little bit of fire in me, because someone basically handed me the tools to say, hey, you need to be creating stuff, here you go. And again, it's kind of invigorating to see someone kind of, I don't want to put words in Kedup's mouth, but have that, I'm blanking on the word, but they believe in you. Like, they believe in what you can accomplish. So yeah, with that inspiration or that encouragement, yeah, that's definitely been helping my energy levels, and trying to get this done.
Well, you know, as a creative, that is very important, surrounding yourself with others who share your passion. You know, Kedup is a very, creative individual, as we all know. And it was extremely nice of him. It was just funny because he kind of enlisted me to, help get the program to you. And I was like, no. I was like, oh, it's too late. It's done. It is what it is. Oh, and by the way, chat, everybody out there who's watching, if there's any questions you have for AncientAlbatross, please preface it with question. We will be taking those down and taking a few of those after we get through with get through with the main body of what we're talking about. It's like, really great. I mean, Anthony and I, being in the inner circle, have seen snippets of this project as it's been unfolding. And I have to say, it's pretty damn solid from both a consumer and a creator's perspective. I mean, it's inspiring to me, and I've been working on my project for over a year, So what, if anything, would you like to share with our viewers? Do you have anything you want to share with them, show off a little bit?
Yeah, I do have a couple pages, not too many, and again, these are not finals. They're definitely open to change. But before I go ahead and do that, let me share what I'm going to be sharing with Dean first, so he can see what we're talking about. And yeah, I'm going to switch over to the pages now, or at least the first page. Oh, and there is nothing there. Why is there nothing there? 1 second. I guess we'll start with these ones then. I don't know why. So these pages are Chaotic Calamity and my sentence page, like how you'll be making your sentences. Let me share those over with Dean too, though, real fast. And yeah, as you can see, I took a lot of inspiration from that Mork Borg design, where it's just kind of bold and in your face. And again, the whole book isn't going to look like these are mostly splash pages, like accent pages, so to speak. But yeah, as you can see here, we have Chaotic Calamity, which is something I didn't mention at all before, but is basically from Mork Borg and also Troika, where when you use your magic, your chaos magic specifically, and you roll a 1, you have a GM intrusion, but on top of that, you have this bad stuff that can happen. Chaotic Calamity, so you roll another d20 to see what your Chaotic Calamity is. And just as an example, let me just pick one. Well, 14. So it says you are plagued with nightmares of an otherworldly beast, and the stuff in yellow highlighted is a secret to the player until it becomes relevant. And it says whenever you take a 10-hour recovery roll a d20. On a 13, you and your allies are ambushed by the very beast plaguing your nightmares. And that's just something that happens, that becomes an affliction you face if you roll a 14 on this Chaotic Calamity table. Just that becomes an ever present thing in your sleep, your recovery rolls. And you leave it vague here, right? So after they defeat that beast, what happens? Do they run away? Like, that's up to the GM to decide, right? And then yeah, on the other side we have the sentence creator, which is how you create your sentence. And yeah, as you can see, we got our normal positive descriptors, a few negative descriptors I came up with, and some bad habits. Kind of, I don't know if you guys can read it too well, especially the bad habits one, because the font is kind of try to pick a creepy-ish or like weird font for that one. I might again go back and change it for readability. But now that we're talking about that, I will be also releasing a plain text version of this alongside it. So with this artsy pages and stuff, you'll have an easier version to read if you're struggling with this one. Again, this is as much an art book as it is going to be a role-playing game thing as well. But yeah, for example, with the sentence here, you can be a generous, disruptive, and archetype who chain smokes, and that's your sentence that helps you role play. And yeah, but let me fix that other image so I can show y'all. I don't know what the hell happened there, but let me fix that. But yeah, that stuff, these are very artsy. I really like the direction I took here, but again, I'm a very flamboyant type dude, if you know me. My artistic, inclinations lead to the extreme. But yeah, we also have a little more calmer stuff in the character pages. And here we see one of the archetypes, the Scarred Guardian. And with the Scarred Guardian, sorry, Dean, did you have any questions before I continue? Sorry, I'm kind of took the reins here.
Right, yeah, you're getting ready to go on a tangent, but it's all right. Like I said, we know we're tangent prone. So I'm looking at this though. What I'm kind of digging about this now, when you make your sentence, and you said this is just the sentence is kind of for role playing purposes. So are you setting this up? I mean, I say you have it set up on a 20-sider. So would you have the player make 3 20-sided rolls, or would you just say 1 20-sided roll and you take that number from each column? And then on top of that, you said there's like really no mechanical idiom to it, but are you going to have like explanations of your descriptors and of your bad habits, just to kind of give players a lean in, to what you're thinking?
Not at all. So, just to the latter part of the question, not at all. This is all up to your interpretation. How you figure a wise, rude person who always seeks revenge, that's up to you how you play that out. That's all strictly to help you role play. You can even disregard this whole section if you'd like and role play your character however you wish. This is strictly a guiding page, just to help you get a feel for what the world is like. The way I'm framing character creation is kind of what your character has gone through, and because of what your character has gone through in this wicked world, they're bound to have developed a negative habit or a bad habit or a negative descriptor, whatever, right? But again, it's up to the GM and the players. They can ignore this. This is not, again, it's for role playing, so it's optional. Not that role playing is optional, but to set up this like particular sentence to help you with your character would be optional, so to speak. I personally would use it because I love randomizing how a character acts, so to speak, like how you would roleplay that guy. Helps me like diverse. I'm not always playing the same guy, right? I can play many different guys if I roll off this table or off these tables. And to go back to the first part of your question, I don't know if you can read it too well, but it says roll once, or I guess once for each. I guess I need to reword that, but you roll a d20 and you roll a d20 and you roll a d20, so you're not stuck on a 13 for all 3 entries. Or if you want to do it that way, you could. Who am I? I'm not going to show up at your house and stop you. But yeah, it's basically just to guide your role playing, and again, it's to take it or leave it, and there won't be any further explanations than what's given here.
That's pretty good. I mean, I like that, Al. I mean, see, and again, I have to throw this out here to a lot of people. If anybody out here who's watching the stream has been on the server, the last few days, and some of the discussions that are out there and how they seem to bounce back and forth and you get no definitive answers. It's not that Cypher doesn't give definitive answers. Cypher allows you to make that, because nothing you've said so far has taken away from the essence of what Cypher is. Cypher is about telling a story. It's about getting into the nitty-gritty of the of the tale. And I like the fact that what you're doing here is having people embrace the tale, having people embrace, the utter chaotic, wild, place that they're in. And again, it becomes the story versus the mechanics versus, how many dice you roll or what the math behind it is. End of the day, I'm going to say it this way. That shit doesn't matter. You guys, one thing you're going to start learning, if you don't know me already, I'm the old grognard of the bunch. It's like, why are you asking that dumbass question? And it's not a dumb question, and I'm not saying it like that, but that's just the old grognard in me. So I really dig what you're doing, Al. Let's get into that character. You had
I really like the character pages.
And I have to tell you that too. Your naming of a lot of things is again, just evocative. It pulls you in. I mean, the Scar Guardian. I mean, I haven't. I mean, I looked at this before, but I'm saying I haven't looked at it recently. And every time I hear it, I just think of this guy walking out with, lesions, like, just scars that look like calloused all over, and he's got them like on his face and on his neck, on his arms. His arms look like, and that's just how I see it every time you say the Scar Guardian, and then, looking at the character sentences that you can come up with, it's just, I mean, to me, it's like so cool. I mean, I could just see him being, Jago is a resilient, cynical, Scar Guardian who is quick to anger. It just good shit, Al. You got me over here wanting to play already. So we got to play tested.
Yeah, I definitely, that's on my goal list, is to set up playtest materials. And I think, again, shout out to KedHup. I think I'm going to steal his model of releasing a playtest at a cheaper price. And then when the full product comes out, they just get it, and whoever buys it afterwards has to pay the full price. But yeah, Scarred Guardian is one of the archetypes you get to play as. And just a quick thank you to Jack One Spade about liking the layout design. I've been having a lot of fun with it. So my husband's been helping me with the art. He did a quick sketch of a guy holding a shield and a sword, and I went and made it a silhouette and made it this background. So the art's definitely going to change. This is something I could kind of whip together just to have an idea of what the page will look like, because I do want this style where it's just a silhouette with maybe a couple details with white outline, kind of like how I did the hole in the helmet there. But yeah, as you can see, or excuse me, before I move on, I'm talking about the characters because you mentioned the other archetypes, and I just want to mention them by name because I really like the names I made. But the other archetypes would be, there's 8 so far. I'm considering upping it to 10, but so far 8. There's the Scarred Guardian, there's the Brutalizer, there's the Chaos Slinger, there is the Light Bearer, the Gloom Gaze Piercer, the Stealth Smith, the Beast Leech, and lastly the Charismaster. Which I'm so stupid for naming the bard or whatever face type archetype, but I like it, so it's gonna stay that. But yeah, let's go back and look back at the sheet here. And if you look here, you see this very simple. This is everything you get from your archetype. There's no more to it. It has your starting stats. As you can see, there's 2 stats that are 6 and 1 that's 9, and that's static across all the archetypes. They have 2 stats that are 6, and the stat they're good at is a 9. And for those experienced at Cypher will notice it's quite a bit lower than what your normal starting stats is, and that is on purpose because this is a deadlier game. And yeah, I wanted to establish that by having just lower stats all around. And a little bit of a change here again. With your normal types, you have a set choice of edge, or excuse me, a set edge. With all the archetypes, you get to choose what your edge is. Every single archetype gets to choose. And then again, along with like every other type, you get to distribute 6 points as you see fit. And just like Mork Borg, and I believe Troika does this too, there's a little, and again, Cypher System has the backgrounds. You have a little table there that gives you a little bit of your background of your character. And again, you can take or leave this. This is just an easy way to give your character background. So each of the archetypes has a little sentence like what scarred you, or a little question. What scarred you? What unleashed your brutality for the brutalizer? What's your claim to fame for the charismaster? But yeah, it's a simple D6 table, and you can either pick one or make up your own. But yeah, it's real simple things that kind of inject a tiny little bit of lore into the book. Because again, there's not going to be a ton of text in this book, kind of like Mork Borg. It's kind of going to leave a lot of room for imagination for the people running it and playing it. And yeah, each archetype has a couple things they're trained at to start off with. They also all start with some sort of inability, and they all kind of have something special to them. For example, the Scarred Guardian has no penalty for wearing any kind of armor, and it allows them to use heavy weapons as a shield. So if they have a heavy weapon on, that's also a shield for them, because they're the tanky guys, right? And
real quick into what we're talking about. So this, again, this is a interesting, way of flipping Cypher on his ear, making it grim and dark. I mean, these elements are like that. And I see the way you wrote the characters, the types. There's no advancement.
So that there is advancement, there 100% is advancement, but it's again not like your traditional Cypher system. I took again heavy inspiration from Mork Borg and Troika, and in those games you kind of have unlimited progression. You just keep getting better. There's of course caps you can reach, but in those games you essentially, I forget if it's like this in Mork Borg, but it's definitely like this in Troika. When it's time for you to get better, and I'm gonna recommend this too, that you play it via milestone or whatever, right? But however you plan to advance your character is up to you, whether it's XP or whatever. But when you advance, instead of just picking skills or gaining stats, well, you always gain stats, but either way, it becomes sort of a mini game. When you advance, you roll dice against all your mechanical things, so to speak. You always gain +4 stats to your pools, how you see fit, just like a normal advancement in Cypher System. However, to get a new skill training or a new ability, or to have your edge go up, all that you need to roll a dice against. So for example, you start off with 1 edge, right? And when it comes time to advance, I believe it's going to be a cap of 6. It might be 8. I might change it, whatever. But you roll a d6 versus your current number. For edge, it'd be 1. And if you roll that number or better, you get another edge. So as you get stronger, it gets harder to get stronger. But yeah, so again, the same thing with skill training. You roll against the number of skills known, also counting inabilities as a negative to kind of balance it out. So let's say in the beginning you have 1 training and 1 inability. So when you go to level up your skill training, it's actually a 0. So you're guaranteed to get at least 1 skill, unless again there's some other negative or whatever affecting your skills. But yeah, you essentially roll dice versus your character sheet, and you go up if you roll higher than your current number of that thing that you have.
So would that mean the negatives go up as well then?
What do you mean the negatives?
Like, for example, say you have 1 inability. So when it comes time to start advancing, would you roll to see if you get another inability or another negative trait?
No, so I actually haven't considered injecting that. That's actually an interesting point. I'm gonna maybe have something for that. But no, this is advancement, right? So you want to get better. So the negative number, so to speak, is only counting towards that number you're gonna roll against for skills, right? So let's say you have 2 skills that you're trained at and 2 skills you have an inability at. I think all characters basically start that way with my character creation, because I like inabilities, and I feel like in Cypher System base, there's not enough inabilities to start. And again, this is a dark world, so either way, you're gonna have 2 skills that you're trained at, two inabilities to start off with, usually. And in that situation, you have a +2 and a -2, because 2 trainings, 2 inabilities, and that cancels out to a 0. So when you go to advance, you're guaranteed to get a training and a skill to start off, right? But as you continue, you'll have 5 skills you're trained at and the 2 inabilities if you never get rid of them. So then you're rolling versus a 3, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, we're kind of touching on this. This is my next question, and you kind of touched on it. You're bringing some majorly grim darkness to Cypher. How have you balanced the harsh nature with the flexible nature of Cypher? What is what's going to be the saving grace there, if any?
Switching back to cameras, just let everybody know, and we're back on cameras just because we're on the next question. I kind of answered this with how the characters are, right? I lowered the base stats, right? And I kind of made characters a little more bare, so to speak. Like, you don't have as many abilities off the gate. You have like maybe 2 or 3, counting your ultimate. Everyone starts, like you saw the character there has gold. Scarred Guardian starts with gold and all eyes on me. Oh, actually, we didn't touch on that at all, but I guess we can touch on that later. Each character has an ultimate ability that it's super duper strong, and it only refreshes once a day. Or if you roll a 20 when you use it, you get to use it again right away if you want to. It's meant to make you feel powerful in this dark world. Like, the characters are special in some way. The ultimate abilities do that. But either way, the way I balance the harshness with, you said, the flexibility of Cypher System.
Yes.
As you can see, even though the characters kind of have these set like things, I changed the rules of the game a little bit to ensure that flexibility, right? So in base Cypher System, most characters have like things they can't do well as far as like weapons go. Like, you have like light weapons you're trained at, or can use whatever, practice whatever the wording, I forget is. So in this game, there's none of that. Everybody can use every type of weapon, no penalties. It's up to you what you want to wear, right? That, I think, by itself already is insanely flexible. It's still Cypher System because it's still the light, medium, heavy. It's just we take away that restriction. Now anybody can just wear any. You don't have to worry about being practiced at it. You're just good at it, right? Or normal at it, I should say. Along with that, I'm taking away, and again, I haven't play tested this at all yet, but in my mind it works well. I took away specific ability costs. Like, for example, if you look, let me go back to the sheet there just to show it off for a second. If you see there, gold only says 1 point. It doesn't say 1 might point. It doesn't say 1 intellect point. It's just 1 point. All your abilities are going to cost points, generic. They can come from any pool you decide. And that's, again, to lean into the flexibility of Cypher System. You get to decide how you spend your points, and the way I'm flavoring that is magic in this world just draws from your life essence, no matter how you want to deliver it, right? Whether it comes from your might, speed, intellect, whatever, that's your life force. You're draining that to power your magic or your abilities, whatever. And same thing with the chaos magic. All the chaos magic is just points. It lets you decide how you want to spend your points, how you want to expend your life essence. I think those are the most major ways I went about keeping it as flexible as Cypher System. Like that flexibility and that darkness and harshness at the same time. I think I kind of hit it with those overlapping sections.
That's actually pretty nice. Now, I have one other caveat or question to add on to that. You're talking about the flexibility and so on and so forth. Are you going to have a curated list of abilities that each type can, draw upon as they advance, or is it just going to be an open source? So
I will say that in my like advice or whatever section, I will say you can create your own list of magic, right? Your own list of chaos magic, because that list that I created was just something, the abilities I really liked and I wanted to see more of, and they're mid to high power abilities. And but yeah, the way that works is there's a list of 36 abilities, and I call it the chaos magic table, and you roll a d66, which again I stole from Mork Borg, or I'm inspired by Mork Borg. I don't know, but either way, you roll 2d6 and you keep track of the order. So you roll a 6 and a 6, or a d6 and a d6, and you it's like 36 or whatever, right?
Right.
And that leads to 36 entries on a table. So there's a table of 36 abilities, and when you tier up, you just roll again. It's a mini game, so when you first tier up, you roll against your 1 chaos magic, because you're mostly guaranteed to get another one when you first advance, and then you just roll off that table to figure out what your new one is. Because again, in this world, chaos magic is flowing everywhere, and it's infusing people and whatever, and that's how the chaos god is getting powerful. He's watching like people go hungry with power or whatever, like go crazy with power, whatever. All right, it's just creating a very chaotic atmosphere. And yeah, so when you advance, you get a random ability. It's not, you don't choose what you just get a random another chaos magic.
Now you're speaking to my soul.
I'm loving it.
Randomization, especially in in a game like this, because you really don't know. Nobody has quantified this, you're just living in this place, and, shit happens. So I like that. And, some people don't. Some people like to be able to plan their character from, the day they walk out the gate to when they're going to retire. And that's fine. That's fine for certain things. But I think that, again, also speaks to the whole idea of your chaos, the chaos magic, and so on and so forth. Jack Spade says, life essence magic, good old Dark Sun vibes. Absolutely.
Actually, I haven't read that. I've been meaning to. No, I haven't. I haven't played it or read it. I've been meaning to read it, but I have not.
Dark Sun was probably one of the best things ever to come out of second edition D&D back in the day. It was grim, it was dark, it was frightening. We used to always sit down if we were going to play Dark Sun or Gamma World. It was always, well, I know my character's going to die. I better have another one on deck because death was a very possible thing. So, now here's an interesting question for you, Al, because it seems like you're doing your layout right next to your writing. Kind of explain how's that working out? Because I've heard many people say that that's an ultimate no. It's a nightmare, so on and so forth. But you seem to be doing pretty damn good with it.
Yeah, so this kind of goes back to an earlier question about the energy levels, right? So when I have energy to do something, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna just try to bang it out if I can. And whether that be writing part of the book or doing layout a part of the book, whatever, right? If I have the energy to do it, I'm gonna try to knock that specific thing out. So when Keta bought me or gave us the funds to buy Affinity, or gave me the fund, whatever, I wasn't doing any layout yet, right? And the book is still incomplete. I will say that it's like 95% written, right? It's almost fully complete. Not there yet. So because it's incomplete, I'm obviously looking still back at it as I'm putting it in the layout, right? So as I'm laying it out, I'm noticing certain things here and there, like, oh, this could be worded better, or oh, actually that ability doesn't make sense. Like one specific example of this is when I went to transfer the chaos Slinger from the writing. I do writing on Google Docs, from the Google Doc to Affinity. I noticed that their I forget if it was their passive or their ultimate ability, but one of them I didn't like it. Like when I pasted it, I was like, wait a second, that doesn't make sense. So I reworked it right then and there within Affinity, and then I copied it back into Google Docs. Yeah, that's how, and it works out for me because that's how my brain works, I guess. Just if I have the energy to do a specific part, I'm gonna try to work on that specific part. I can't go into it thinking, hey, I need to knock out the layout portion tonight. Like I need to work on layout tonight. And then I sit down at my computer, I'm just like, it's literally crickets like this, just quiet, like, oh, I don't have the energy to do that. But I could work on my bestiary, and then I start writing instead. And that's kind of what happened the other night. Like you saw, I showed you the bestiary entry, and that's the most incomplete part of my book is the bestiary. And that's literally the only entry I've written so far is the Rune Wolves. And yeah. But yeah, I juggle my energy where it wants to be. If that makes sense.
So for anybody out there, if you suffer from these things, take some advice from AncientAlbatross. The methodology seems to be working. Like I said, he's producing some great stuff. And I'm going to throw something out there for you, Al. I think you should, since this is a chaotic world and all of this, I think you should, throw in that there's always a possibility of getting another inkling of corruption or twisted, your nature being twisted. Just I would throw that in there as far as like when advancement happens. Let's say, you roll a 36, like you get like the really cool ultimate ability. Well, guess what? There's a caveat that comes with it or something. I'm just throwing it out there because the creative in me is being inspired.
I just, because that is an awesome idea, because I honestly never thought of something like that, right? Because I always want to keep progression in the positive, right? You want to always get better. But that does make sense in the realm of theme, right? Like, if something bad, right, that just makes sense. So just as a quick idea, just literally came up with this because you mentioned it. Maybe when you're going to advance, you roll a separate D20, and if it rolls a 1, then you earn a negative along with all those advancements.
Exactly.
But again, that's a nice idea. But again, we'll see. I have to. Yeah.
Put it in as an option.
Yeah, that's definitely a fun option for sure. I don't know if that, because again, it kind of feels bad if you go to advance and you don't advance at all and you get a negative, like, because this is like maybe several advancements down the road, right? We get like 4 or 5, right? And now it's kind of like you got to roll the high numbers to actually advance, but you don't hit those numbers, and then you roll a 1 on your like something bad happens dice.
To me, that's like really cool. For me as a GM. As a storyteller and even as a player.
Oh no, I would love that too, personally.
That's what I'm saying. For me as a GM, it's like, oh God, I get to inject this new element into the game versus, we're starting to see a brighter future. Oh no, not anymore.
I will say this though, since we're kind of talking about that, injecting negativity or badness into the world, right? I did also I'm inspired, excuse me, inspired by Mork Borg and their end of the world psalms, right? So in Mork Borg, if you haven't played it or read it, each game day, the GM rolls a dice. I forget what it's called, like it has a specific name, I believe. But if they roll a 1 on that dice, the world changes in some way, as Necrobell, or like the premise is there's a prophet there's a basilisk and everything they've said has come true, right? And there's a list, again, a D66, also 36 entries. They call them psalms. And if the GM rolls a 1 at the beginning of the day, the world changes. One of those prophecies came true. And I'm gonna have the same thing within this game, where this is the rare instance in a Cypher System product where the GM will roll a dice, because I want the GM to have a hand in this. And yeah, I don't know, this is something I have to play test or workshop or something. I don't know what the trigger is going to be for making the roll harder, because in Mork Borg, you just change the size dice you're rolling depending on how quickly you want the world to end, right? So if the world's ending very soon, you just flip a coin, and if it's heads, the world changes, or a D4 or D6, so on and so forth, right, to extend the campaign.
I've got the caveat for you. What happens is when you have to roll that die is based on your players. So for every advancement that they got, that gives you a wider range for your
that's devastating. Let me tell you what my idea was, because I think it's dramatic, but also not as dramatic, because it won't be changing as much, right? Because you don't want this to change too much, right? So my idea was, it's a difficulty 1 roll to start, obviously, because we're Cypher System, it has to be difficulty 1, the easiest roll. So to proc the world changing, the GM would have to roll a 1 or 2 on a D20 to start, right? Kind of hard to do, but maybe I'll just make it a straight 1. Either way, we'll figure out the numbers. But either way, what makes it go up or easier to happen is each time the players die, anytime there's a PC death period, it goes up a difficulty. So from difficulty 1 to 2 when a player dies. Now the GM's rolling a difficulty 2 at the beginning of each game day, and if another PC dies, difficulty 3, so on and so forth, until it's like inevitable that the world ends.
That works too.
I think I would have to play again. That's workshop. I like that premise because it doesn't change the number too much, and again, it kind of puts the onus on the players to try to stay alive, like run away from combat if you have to, like preserve your life force, because if you don't, the world is going to end that much faster.
Or we could adjust it and turn, figure a way to turn it into chaos mode versus horror mode.
But yeah, that's the general premise on how. And then again, just like in Mork Borg, I don't know what I'm calling it, but instead it's going to be a big stone slab that the chaos god left behind to taunt humanity when he first crashed the heavens into world. And it's basically, he's just straight up telling you, this is how I'm going to change the world. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. So he puts it up for people to read. He put up a watchtower at a certain distance so that people, like, because this is a humongous, like, big old, like, several story tall, like, stone slab, right, that he just erected with magic or whatever. So humans can't really read that. They can't really figure it out. So he literally erected a tower to taunt them, like, you can read it perfectly from here. And that's where the first, like, major city was built. But
So
yeah,
that's actually pretty cool, Al. So in other words, or even better, why not even have it depicting images? Images will like dance across for those who can't read. They see pictures of the new world, and just the fact that the chaos is he's telling you, look, I've been doing this for the last 500 years or however many years you said it, and you see the history. This is where people go see the history since the fall, and he's telling you what's going to happen. And like you said, there's nothing you can do about it. So that in turn is what fuels the people of the world to do the things they're doing, but they don't realize that they're just feeding it because they don't know the overarching idea behind it. So yeah, that meta knowledge as a GM is awesome. And even for the players, any person who buys it and reads it will understand that they have to lean into, that aspect of the world. I think, man, this is like I said, being behind the scenes, seeing this, seeing that, like, just alone. And I'm going to throw it out there. I know you didn't, bring anything with it, but those damn chaos wolves are so freaking hot. I'm telling you, you guys, this monster Al created it's sweet. It's so Cypher. I'm gonna steal it and use it in like some other games because it's like really really a great monster. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, I just pulled it up actually. Wait, let me make sure I mute myself. Cause I tend to mute myself when I tap. No, I'm good. But yeah, so the Rune Wolves, and again, because there's not going to be a whole lot. If you've read Mork Borg, a lot of the lore details are left to the imagination. There's a lot of juicy tidbits, but a lot of it, is you see a lot of lore tidbits injected in the in the class descriptions and like the monster descriptions or whatever. So I'm trying to do the same thing here. And with the Rune Wolves, they're just wolves, and the little entry reads, wild wolves of the ruined plains which have been greatly affected by the chaos magic surrounding the area, known to travel in packs of 3 to 5. And yeah, I gave them regular wolf stuff, like they can bite and latch and they can claw and scratch, right? But the special part about them is, since they're chaos magic wolves essentially, each pack of wolves has a special ability, and I made a simple table of 6 different abilities they could have, and whenever the players or whoever, if a GM is prepping a session, they can roll randomly what kind of rune wolves they are, whether they have the shock bark or fire breath, blink skin, a whirlwind tail, steel fur, a psychic link. Those are the 6 ones I made up. But yeah, it kind of makes, even though you might run into rune wolves a bunch of times, it's going to be unique each time. And something I'm also inserting is something the enemies will do when they feel weak or threatened. So below 25 HP, they have a supersonic howl that they'll emit when they try to run away. And yeah, I really like how this guy came out. Hopefully all the rest of them come out pretty good. I'm only doing, I believe, 12 monsters for the beast here. It's not going to be huge, but again, it's just going to be little ways to inject more of that like lore flavorful stuff into the book.
And by you saying that now, that's just another suggestion that I'm gonna throw out there for you. You should like write a small section just on advice on how monster crafting theory, or encounter theory for your world.
That's I mean, this is tangent enough for me or whatever. I do have a random creature generator though, where they'll if they don't like the list here or if they want something on the fly, you can just roll it out, and it'll roll out the HP, the kind of monster it is, a weak spot on it. Yeah, so I don't. That's not really what you're talking about, but
Well, no,
yeah.
in essence, it is. I mean, having a random table is awesome, but I'm just saying, if you just a philosophy, just a little, blurb on creature craft, craft theory, because one of the things that I'm noticing about everything you're sharing, it harkens itself back to the world. There's not just a, even though it might be a randomly generated creature, it still has some aspect that it connects and binds to the lore of the world itself. So I'm saying for you, what you've done is freaking brilliant. Like you said, you've been working on it for 6 months, but you've been sharing like over the past month or so, and I'm just looking at it unfold, and it's brilliant. And that's not me just blowing smoke up your ass. This is another designer, a person who looks at games through a very harsh lens. You know how harsh I can be when it comes to movies and comic books, storylines, and everything else. So this is, I'm proud of you, and I think you've got a winner here. And everybody, when Al starts to do his play test and so on and so forth, however he decides to fund this, I really and hopefully pray and suggest that you jump on board, because you will not be disappointed. I mean, like I said, just the little things I'm seeing are inspirational in of itself, So as usual, with all our creatives that we have on the show, what advice would you give to someone wanting to embark on a project such as this?
It's the same advice we hear time and time again. And now that I'm doing it, it's just true. If there's something like this you want to do, try to do it. Like, just any means you can, try to work on it. I know it's kind of hard, especially like, for example, with Affinity, right? I never started layout or anything like that because I never had access to it. It costs not a ton of money, but it costs money, right? But if you can find free alternatives, I'm not sure what a free alternative is for Affinity or InDesign or something like that, but I have seen people, dedicated people, do very nicely laid out things, even within Google Docs, right? If you have that drive to do it with whatever tools you can, try to do it. And from the famous Jess Penley, fuck up fast and fuck up frequently. That is also a very, very solid advice, because without that messing up part, you can't get better. And that just harkens to anything in life. Like, you can't be worried about messing up or fucking up or whatever, because that's the only way you learn. You have to fail to learn to succeed. This is basically my first book that I'm making. I'm not expecting this to be like a grand slam, knock it out of the park, sell 1 million copies type deal, right? Like, I'm trying to just put it out. Like, I'm just trying to work with my energy levels and what's available to me and trying to make something I like. And that's really the only advice I can, like, the best advice I can give is work on something you enjoy, especially, again, if you're doing something like this, your first project should be something you really, really enjoy. But again, don't be afraid to just dive in and work on it however you can, whether it be starting off in Google Docs because you don't have access to something, or even just getting all the writing done first and doing something akin to CAD where you get funding through playtesting on some, with just your tech stock, and then use those funds to buy the tools or the manpower. You'll hire someone to lay it out for you or something. They are definitely hurdles, but you can't get over those hurdles without trying them.
And I'm going to tell everybody that is probably the soundest advice you can get. Just do it. Nike said it. Jess Pendley from Underground said, fuck around fast, fuck up frequently. That's what we got to do. You really have to. I'm on the other side because my project is a lot bigger than what Al's doing, and at least in scope for what I want it to be as a final product. But I'm just sitting here, I'm writing and getting stuff organized, and then I'm looking for an artist. I got to get an artist, but I'm talking to somebody. So it's all these little things, and it really depends on what you want. But unless Al, you got something else to say? We got a couple of questions from the audience, and I want to, hit those.
Just real fast, I did put it in the chat, but it'll also be in the description down below. I have been doing art stuff too. Just as in, like, what else am I doing? So yeah, check that out. It's just geometric art that I've been doing on Procreate. I really like it. Put it on shirts and canvases and stuff. It's also like on Instagram and whatnot. But yeah, all those links are in the link tree there. And a huge thank you to Iron Warrior X in the chat for saying Inkscape is like InDesign that is free. I have not heard of it, but it's awesome that there is a free alternative for layout stuff. Definitely gonna look into that just to see what it's like, because that's awesome. But yeah, we could definitely go into some audience questions.
All right, so our good friend Jack Spade, one who always seems to come around, always has a good question for our people. He said, what was an experience that you think highlighted what this setting system is good at?
Oh yeah, damn, I meant to get clarifying from him. Did he mean my game or just Cypher System as a whole?
I'm quite sure. I think it's for your game.
So I'll be real. I would like to be 100% transparent, honest, whatever. I actually have not played my game. My game hasn't really been played in a group setting or anything. I have done solo play in it though. And again, it's kind of not designed with that in mind, but designed to make, not designed to it, but the way it's designed makes solo play easy. So all I've really done, honestly, is solo play. And for that, it's been awesome. For that, it's been fantastic. The reason I like it, and the reason I think it would be, or play well on the table, is you're not looking at as many options at the same time, right? Like, so with your first tier character, you have like 4 abilities or maybe more, right? And a bunch of different stats and skill trainings and blah, 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 right? So in this, you're looking at a little bit less. So there's not as much analysis paralysis when you're going to do something, like take an action or whatever, or figure out how to solve a problem. So yeah, I think that kind of the way that's set up kind of helps with the experience, if that makes sense. I don't know if I answered the question right or anything, but that's the best answer I got.
Well, at the end of the day, Al, there's no wrong answer, and what you said makes a lot of sense. So, stop stepping on your own toes. And our buddy Zeus Legion says, what is it, and where and / when can we buy it? So in other words, I think it's time to get some play testing started because people are already chomping at the bit for this thing.
Yeah, so not available yet, obviously. Still working on finishing it. It is play testable though, quite play testable. So what it is, and I'll just for clarity's sake, it's a Cypher System hack. It's a modification on how Cypher System runs, but at its core, it's still Cypher System. There's still difficulties and skill trainings and whatnots and effort and all that stuff. So at its core, it's still Cypher System with just a few tweaks. I mentioned it earlier. So like, for example, there's no weapon trainings. Anybody can use any weapons they want. Another way I tweaked it a bit was points, how you spend points to do your abilities. You only spend points generically, and there's a few other tweaks that I'm blanking on right now, but yeah, it's a Cypher System hack in a very grim, dark fantasy post-apocalyptic world. And where to get it, when to get it, when TBD, and where to get it, I believe I'm gonna again take KedHub's lead on this and put it on Ko-Fi. Mostly because I want most of the money that comes from it. I'm gonna be straight up. So like if it goes on like drive through or something, then we gotta share profits and whatnot. Whereas on coffee, that's mostly for us. I'm not really too worried about discoverability. I know our audience, like our core audience, I don't really care if randos find it to begin with. Maybe we'll push marketing or something. But the real people I care about finding it are the people who are in our community and who are gonna hear about it anyway. So on coffee it will go. And
Nice.
yeah, coffee has shops and whatnot if you haven't seen them. So yeah, it'll just be available on coffee. And I think I'm gonna do the same exact thing KetHub did, where the playtest will be cheaper, and then once if you buy the playtest, you'll get the playtest materials, and then once it actually is full released, you'll get, if you bought into the playtest, you'll get that for free. And then yeah, and any add-ons or changes or whatnot. Yeah.
So I'm laughing because I don't know if you've ever watched the Rocky movies, but Zeus Legion says in his Dolph Lundgren voice, "I will break it."
Oh, I mean, I feel like Cypher System's hard to break in general. Like, so
Yeah.
good luck, I guess. I could definitely see the game being broken if you went through the chaos magic list and chose your abilities instead of like picking them at random. I feel like a lot of combinations could get goofy real quick, like insanely quick. But yeah, that's kind of like over time. Either way, have fun trying to break it. And just as a quick thing, Zeus Legion says you could offer it both places. Maybe yeah, I would have to look into drive through RPG, because I don't. Yeah, I guess Dean can help me in that. Yeah.
The reality would be, if I were you, what you're doing now, start it out on Ko-fi, get it as a finished product, get it polished, the whole nine, get your sales through there. And then if you wanted to try to reach another audience that maybe not be a part of Cypher Unlimited, but Cypher fans, then you could throw it up on, other platforms, but again, you stay in control of your destiny. I've been looking at a lot of different methodologies, to fund my project when it's time. So we can talk about that, off screen, sometime, have a meeting of the minds.
Yeah, but it'll
if there are no
definitely.
more questions from the audience. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
Al.
I was just gonna say it's definitely at least gonna start off on Ko-fi, as far as being available for purchase or playtest or whatever. Definitely start off on Ko-fi, maybe branch off to other platforms.
Right. So, like I said, great. Look, I really enjoy doing this show. For everybody out there, I really do. I look forward to my Thursday night. But this one just is kind of special. It really is. I mean, it really is. I mean, and maybe I'm biased, maybe because I love this guy, I love this guy like a brother. He's at the core. I'm going to tell you guys, Al is the heart and soul of the CU boys. He keeps us grounded. He keeps us from pulling each other's hair out, and cat fighting and slap fighting each other, But more so than that, Al is one of the most creative minds I have encountered in this whole journey with Cypher System. He's very soft-spoken about it. It's all subtle. No, you can wave me off if you want to, but how about this? Al ran me through a game almost 10 years ago called Big Daddy Kraken. He probably don't even really remember it. I remember it vividly. Al also ran me through a hack that he did of what was that game from Germany with all the great artwork?
Oh, the Genesis.
The Genesis. He did a hack of the Genesis into Cypher. And the game sticks with me. I forgot about the Genesis, but I can't forget about Al's game. Al did a adaptation of The Darkest Dungeon video game. He brought the tension and the diaspora of a video game to a tabletop. This young man has talent coming out of his ears. He just doesn't know it yet. So everybody out there, please take the time to when he starts putting it out there, take the time to look at it, take the time to experience it. When we decide to do, we're definitely going to do a stream. I'm saying that now. I'm calling it. I'm flexing my old man muscles and saying we're going to definitely do a stream of an actual play of this, because Al, this is great, and I love you, man. So that being said,
I appreciate all the kind words.
They're true. They're not just kind, they're true. So, but without that being said, if you like us and you like what we do, be sure to join our Discord. We have the largest fan-run group for all things Monty Cook games, with games being run at all times. If you're not a fan of Discord, you can join our Facebook group. Not as big, but still plenty of discussions to be had. Subscribe to us on YouTube, because all of our videos will always be free. If you don't catch them on Twitch Thursday night, they're always up on Friday. Subscribe there. We're trying to grow that platform as well. We appreciate that so much. If those aren't for you, you could always give us a little donation on Ko-fi. These things help keep the lights on, keep Cypher Unlimited going, or if you really like something, you could get some merch, like my summertime Cypher Unlimited shirt we got going on. New CypherCon shirts will be coming soon, because CypherCon is a thing. It is going to happen. It is on the horizon. So please, join up, join the asset team. If you want a GM, definitely join the asset team. Get on board. CypherCon 1.0, enter the Cypherverse, will be happening this September on a computer near you. But with all of that being said, no matter what, we love you guys.
Yep. Thank you guys so much for coming by, talking to me about my book, or chat, I should say. And thank you, Dean, for asking me questions about it. Definitely a lot of fun. Got some new ideas out of this too, maybe to implement. So that's always nice. But yeah, thank you again, everybody in chat, for coming by. And definitely check the links below on YouTube for anything you might have missed. Yeah. From us at the CU, we will see you later.